For a very long time, the galaxy had only one rule: take what you can, expand where you want, destroy whoever stands in your way. Thousands of species followed this rule. Empires rose and fell, worlds burned, stars changed hands again and again. But there was one place no one touched: human space. It was not protected by massive fleets. No weapon platforms guarded its borders. No war stations floated near its stars. On every galactic map, human space was marked with a simple symbol and a single line of text: entry not advised. No reason was given. That alone made the great empires laugh. The Varkesh Dominion was one of the oldest powers in the galaxy. Their kind had ruled space for over 10,000 years. They believed strength decided everything. If a species could not defend its borders openly, then it did not deserve them. Admiral Kor Ven stood on the bridge of his flagship, crushing will, staring at the glowing star map. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the quiet region marked in pale gray. "So this is human space," he said. "Yes, Admiral," replied the navigation officer. "No confirmed military presence, no trade routes, no known allies." Kor Ven made a low sound of amusement. "Then why does everyone avoid it?" The officer hesitated. "Old records say humans asked to be left alone." Kor Ven laughed openly. "A request is not a defense." Around him, the bridge crew shared his confidence. The Varkesh fleet was powerful, 20 warships, each armed with weapons that had crushed entire civilizations. They had crossed borders far stronger than this. Human space looked empty, too empty. That made it tempting. "Set course straight through," Kor Ven ordered. "We will pass without slowing." A junior officer spoke carefully. "Admiral, some say no one who enters ever comes back." Kor Ven turned slowly. "Then they were too weak to return." No one spoke again. The fleet moved forward. As the ships crossed the border, nothing happened. No alarms, no resistance, no sudden attacks. Space looked the same as everywhere else. Stars burned softly in the distance. Planets drifted in silence. Sensors showed no ships, no stations, no energy signatures worth noting. The bridge relaxed. Kor Ven folded his arms. "You see, fear and stories, nothing more." Minutes passed, then 10. Still nothing. The fleet moved deeper. That was when the first ship vanished. There was no warning. One moment it was there on the sensor screen. The next moment, nothing. No explosion, no debris, no energy spike. Just empty space. "Sensor error?" Kor Ven asked. The sensor officer's voice shook. "No, Admiral. The signal ended instantly, like it was erased." Before Kor Ven could reply, another icon disappeared. Then another. One by one, ships vanished from the display. Still no sound. Still no attack. The silence grew heavy. "Spread formation," Kor Ven commanded. "Scan everything. Full power." The fleet slowed. Energy levels rose. Weapons armed. Yet nothing appeared. The stars looked calm, peaceful. That made it worse. Long-range scans began returning strange results. Shapes that did not fully exist on the screen. Shadows where nothing should be. Massive objects that vanished when directly observed. "Admiral," the science officer whispered, "we are detecting structures, huge ones, but they are hidden, like they don't want to be seen." Kor Ven felt something unfamiliar. Unease. "Are they human?" he asked. "Yes, but the technology, it is far beyond our estimates." Another ship disappeared. This time the crew saw it happen. One moment the cruiser drifted beside them. The next moment space bent inward just for a breath, and the ship was gone. No flash, no sound. Kor Ven's claws tightened. "Open all channels," he ordered. "Broadcast our authority." The message went out. No response came back. Instead, every screen on the bridge turned black. Then white text appeared. Simple, calm, human. "You were warned." The message repeated, again and again. No threat followed, no demand, just those 3 words. The engines shut down. Every ship in the fleet stopped at the same time. Power systems failed. Navigation went dark. The fleet drifted helplessly inside human space. Fear spread through the bridge. "Admiral, we cannot move," the navigation officer whispered. Corvin stared at the message. For the first time in his long life, he understood something terrible. Human space was not empty. It had never been empty. It was quiet because it did not need to speak. And now the silence had noticed them. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed closer, watching.
The Varkesh fleet floated in total silence. Engines were dead. Weapons were useless. Every system showed the same message: locked. Admiral Corvin stood frozen on the bridge of the crushing will. His confidence, once unbreakable, had begun to crack. The galaxy had never treated the Varkesh this way before. No enemy fleet surrounded them. No battle lines formed. And yet, they were completely powerless. "Restore power," Corvin ordered, forcing strength into his voice. The engineering officer shook his head slowly. "We are trying, Admiral. The systems respond for a moment, then shut down again. It is like something is holding them closed." "Something?" Corvin snapped. "Or someone?" No one answered. Outside the viewport, space looked calm. Too calm. Stars burned softly, uncaring. There was no sign of the ships that had vanished. No wreckage. No energy remains. It was as if they had never existed. "Long-range scanners?" Corvin asked. "Still blocked," the science officer replied. "But we are receiving data." Corvin turned. "From where?" "Everywhere," the officer said quietly. "The data is coming from all directions at once." The screen shifted. A 3-dimensional image appeared. It showed the Varkesh fleet from above, then from below, then from angles no sensor should reach. It was perfect. "They can see us," someone whispered. "Yes," Corvin said slowly. "They always could." The image zoomed outward, revealing massive shapes hidden between stars. Dark structures, larger than moons, wrapped in shadow. Their edges were smooth, unnatural, and silent. "These are not ships," the science officer said. "They are stations, or something else." Corvin felt cold. "How many?" Corvin asked. The officer swallowed. "We cannot count them, Admiral. There are too many." A new signal appeared. Not text, audio. A single voice filled the bridge. Calm, clear, human. "You are within restricted space. No anger, no fear, no pride. Just fact." Corvin stepped forward. "This is Admiral Corvin of the Varkesh Dominion. We claim the right of passage through unoccupied space." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "This space is occupied." Corvin's jaw tightened. "By whom? We see no cities, no fleets, no life." Another pause. Then the answer came. "By intention." The word echoed across the bridge. Corvin felt his confidence break further. "If you are humans, then speak openly. No species can hide forever." The voice did not rise. "We are not hiding. We are waiting." The screens changed again. Now they showed images from the past. Human ships exploring early space. Human worlds, human colonies burned by alien fleets. Treaties broken, warnings ignored. Images moved fast, but the message was clear. Humans had trusted the galaxy once. The galaxy had answered with fire. "We learned. You did not," the voice said. Corvin watched as an image showed humans pulling back, abandoning worlds, erasing records, turning entire systems dark. "Why withdraw? Why not fight?" Corvin asked. The voice answered instantly. "Because war teaches enemies, silence does not." One of the officers cried out, "Admiral, another ship is gone!" The fleet count dropped again. Still no sound, still no explosion, just absence. Fear now filled the bridge completely. "These are executions," Corvin said. "No," the voice corrected. "These are removals." Corvin clenched his claws. "We can leave. Release our engines. We will go." The voice paused longer this time. "You crossed our boundary. You ignored the warning. You tested our silence." Corvin felt something heavy settle in his chest. "What is your demand?" he asked. "There is no demand, only consequence." Outside the viewport, space began to change. Stars dimmed. Dark shapes shifted closer. The massive structures revealed glowing lines across their surfaces. Blue-white light pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "Admiral," the science officer whispered, "energy levels are rising across all spectrums. This technology is beyond anything we understand." Corvin realized the truth. Humans were not peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they were prepared. The voice spoke one last time. "This will be remembered." The screens went dark. Across the fleet, ships began to disappear faster now. Groups at once, entire formations erased in silence. The crushing will drifted alone. Corvin stood on the bridge, surrounded by fear and shadow. For the first time, the Varkesh Dominion had met a species that did not want their space, did not want their respect, did not want their fear, only their distance. And that distance had been crossed.
The crushing will drifted in silence. Around it there was nothing. No friendly ships, no enemy fleet, no stars close enough to feel real. Only emptiness. Admiral Corvin stood on the bridge, his posture stiff, his mind racing. The Varkesh fleet, once proud, once unstoppable, was gone. Not defeated, not destroyed, removed. The bridge crew did not speak. Fear had taken all words from them. Then, slowly, the screens came back to life. Not alarms, not warnings, images. Human images. The voice returned, calm as before. "You wish to know why we stayed apart," it said. Corvin did not answer. He could not. His throat felt tight. The images changed. They showed the early galaxy, long before the Varkesh Dominion rose to power. Young species reached for the stars. Humans were among them, curious, hopeful, unguarded. Human ships traded freely. Human worlds welcomed visitors. Then the images darkened. Allies became rivals. Rivals became enemies. Treaties were broken for resources. Human colonies were attacked because they were weak, because they trusted too easily. Corvin watched human cities burn. Not once, many times. "We believed the galaxy could share," the voice said. "We were wrong." The images showed humans fighting back. Early wars, heavy losses, victory that tasted like ash. "Every war taught us something," the voice continued. "Not how to win, but how to endure." The scenes changed again. Humans pulling back from borders, abandoning worlds, scattering their population deeper into space, erasing maps, cutting trade. Other species celebrated. They thought humans had given up. Corvin understood now how foolish that belief was. "You disappeared," he said quietly. "Yes," the voice replied. "We chose silence." The screens showed massive construction projects hidden inside nebulae, dark systems, and folded space. Structures that did not reflect light, ships that bent sensors away from themselves. Weapons were built, then sealed away. Defenses layered so deep that no single attack could ever reach the core. "We did not want empire," the voice said. "We wanted safety." Corvin clenched his claws. "And the warning?" he asked. "The line on the map?" "That was courtesy, one we learned to offer sparingly." The images stopped. The bridge lights dimmed. Outside, one of the massive dark structures moved closer. It was larger than Corvin's ship by thousands of times, yet it made no sound. "Why not destroy us all at once?" Corvin asked. "Why let us see this?" Another pause. "Because the galaxy learns through survivors," the voice said. Corvin's heart pounded. "You plan to let some of us live?" "Yes." Hope flickered on the bridge. Then the voice added, "Not you." The hope died instantly. The crushing will shook slightly as space around it warped. Systems flickered, then stabilized. "You are being recorded, your thoughts, your fear, your understanding." Corvin realized the truth. He was not a prisoner. He was a message. "What will you do with this?" he demanded. The voice answered with calm honesty. "We will show the galaxy what happens when silence is ignored." The images returned, now showing alien councils, great halls filled with leaders who once laughed at human space. Those same leaders watched recordings of Varkesh ships vanishing without battle. Fear spread across their faces. The galaxy respects strength, but it remembers mystery. Corvin laughed bitterly. "You think this will stop them?" "It already has," the voice replied. The screens shifted again. Trade routes were changing, borders pulling back, fleets rerouting around human space by wide margins. Species that once mocked the warning now treated it like a sacred law. No one enters because no one needs to. The dark structure outside the viewport glowed faintly. Corvin felt time slipping. "You could have ruled everything," he said. "Why choose this?" The answer came without hesitation. "Because ruling requires watching constantly. We prefer to sleep." The ship shuddered again. Power drained slowly now, like a tide going out. Corvin fell to one knee. "Will history remember us?" he asked. "Yes," the voice replied, "as an example." The final image appeared, a simple galactic map. Human space was no longer marked in gray, it was marked in black. Untouched, undisturbed, respected. The screens went dark. The crushing will drifted alone, its fate sealed, carrying the last thoughts of an admiral who believed silence meant weakness. And somewhere beyond sight, humanity remained exactly where it wanted to be. Alone. The crushing will should not have been able to move. Its engines were dead, its weapons silent, its crew exhausted and afraid. And yet, space itself began to shift. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into thin lines, not from speed, but from bending. Reality folded slowly, carefully, as if guided by an unseen hand. Admiral Corvin felt the ship slide forward without engines. "Report," he ordered weakly. The navigation officer stared at the screen in disbelief. "We are moving, Admiral, but we are not traveling. Space is moving around us." Corvin understood. Humans were not pushing ships. They were rearranging the battlefield. The dark structures surrounding the ship began to move as well. Massive shapes drifted closer, then passed by, like silent guardians. Their surfaces glowed faintly, lines of light flowing across them like rivers. The human voice returned. "You will witness," it said, "so others will not need to." The stars faded. In their place appeared a vast open region of space, empty, clear, calm. Then the emptiness broke. Human ships arrived. Not through jump points, not through gates. They simply appeared. One moment there was nothing. The next moment there were thousands of ships arranged in perfect formation. Each ship was dark, sharp-edged, and silent. No symbols marked them, no lights blinked wildly. They did not look aggressive, they looked final. The bridge crew stared in horror and awe. "So many," one officer whispered. Corvin shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "this is not many." The voice spoke again, almost gently. "This is a patrol." The words hit harder than any weapon. A patrol. Corvin realized then that what the Varkesh had faced so far was not a defense force. It was an automated response. The human fleet shifted formation as one. Every movement was smooth, exact, and silent. No signals passed between them that Varkesh sensors could detect. "They do not communicate," the science officer said. "They already know." The patrol ships spread out, surrounding empty space where the rest of the Varkesh fleet had once been. The voice continued. "Human space is not defended by borders," it said. "It is defended by certainty." The first human weapon fired. There was no beam, no projectile. A section of space simply collapsed inward. Matter, energy, and light vanished together. Where a Varkesh ship had once existed, there was now nothing at all. Not debris, not radiation, nothing. Corvin watched in silence as the human ships repeated the action across the region. Each strike was calm, measured, perfectly controlled. They were not fighting, they were cleaning. "You see power," the voice said, "but this is restraint." Corvin's voice was rough. "Restraint?" "Yes," the voice replied. "We could have removed your fleet the moment you crossed the line. Instead, we waited." "Why?" Corvin asked. "To be certain you were not lost, only arrogant." The last remnants of the Varkesh fleet disappeared. The patrol ships stopped firing. Silence returned. Then the human ships began to leave. Not all at once, not in panic. They vanished calmly, one by one, folding out of space like shadows slipping away. Soon only the crushing will remained. Corvin's ship was pulled forward again. Space folded, stars stretched, and then snapped back into place. A new view filled the viewport. A human world. It was green and blue. Clouds drifted peacefully. Oceans reflected starlight. Cities glowed softly on the night side, alive and calm. No defenses were visible. No weapons pointed outward. "This is Earth," the voice said. Corvin stared. "So open," he whispered. "So vulnerable." The voice answered quietly. "Only if you mistake peace for weakness." The ship moved closer, stopping at a safe distance. "You see our home, not because it needs protection, but because it does not fear being seen." Corvin felt something heavy settle inside him. "You let us come this far," he said. "You let us see this. Why?" "Because memory matters," the voice replied. "You will not survive, but what you understand will." Corvin closed his eyes. "I was wrong," he said at last. "Yes," the voice agreed. The ship began to lose power again, slowly, gently. Corvin sank into his command seat. "What happens now?" he asked. The voice did not sound cruel. "Now," it said, "you become a warning." Outside, Earth turned slowly, calm and untouched.
The galaxy did not learn the truth all at once. It learned in pieces. First, the Varkesh Dominion stopped responding. Their border stations went silent. Their fleets failed to return. Their trade routes emptied. At first, other powers believed it was strategy, a show of strength. The Varkesh were known for sudden silence before war. But days passed, then weeks, and still nothing. The Galactic Council called an emergency gathering. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber. Some were calm, some were nervous, all were curious. Human space appeared on the central map, still marked with the same words, "Entry not advised." A Kelmerian envoy spoke first. Perhaps the Varkesh finally claimed that region. A Draxi commander shook his head. "No debris, no signals, no victory broadcasts. That is not their way." Whispers spread through the chamber. Then the first recording arrived. No source was listed. No transmission path was detected. It simply appeared in every archive at once. The lights dimmed. The recording began. It showed Varkesh warships drifting powerless, ships vanishing without battle, space bending like liquid under invisible control. The chamber fell silent. "This is false," someone said weakly. Then the recording continued. Human structures emerged from darkness, vast and calm, untouched by time. A human voice spoke. Not loud, not angry, clear. "You were warned." Fear moved through the council like a cold wind. The recording ended. No explanation followed. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then systems across the chamber began to update on their own. Navigation charts changed. Trade routes shifted. New safety zones appeared around human space, wider than before, much wider. "They're changing our maps," a whisper declared. "No," another replied, "they're letting us change them." Across the galaxy, captains canceled planned routes, explorers turned back, colonies near human space quietly packed up and moved. No announcement was made, no demand issued. The silence was enough. Military analysts studied the recording for weeks. They slowed it down, measured energy flows, compared known technologies. Nothing matched. Human weapons did not follow known rules. Their movement did not obey physics as understood by the galaxy. "This isn't superiority," one analyst said quietly. "It's separation." Others agreed. Humans were not ahead on the same path. They were on a different path entirely. Some empires reacted with fear. They strengthened borders, built more ships, prepared for a threat that never came. Others reacted with caution. They pulled back, reduced fleets, avoided conflict. A few reacted with arrogance. "They are only one species," the Tau Rex Combine declared. "They hide because they fear us." The Combine sent a single probe toward human space. It crossed the boundary. It vanished. No recording returned. No message followed. The Combine never sent another. On a distant world, far from politics, an old historian watched the changes quietly. He studied ancient records, forgotten wars, early human encounters. He found a pattern. Humans never struck first, but when crossed, they did not escalate. They ended. The humans didn't build an empire, the historian said to his students. They built an answer.
Back in the dark reaches near human space, the crushing will drifted its final moments. Admiral Corvin sat alone on the bridge. Power was nearly gone. The human voice returned one last time. "You have seen enough," it said. Corvin nodded weakly. "They will fear you now." "Yes, but fear is not our goal." "What is?" Corvin asked. "Distance and memory." The ship began to break apart, not violently, but gently, as if released from existence. Corvin's final thought was bitter and clear. The galaxy had mistaken quiet for weakness. It would never make that mistake again. Years passed. Human space remained unchanged. No fleets emerged. No threats followed. Life inside it continued quietly. Worlds thrived. Cities grew. Children looked up at peaceful skies. Outside it, the galaxy adapted. Borders hardened. Arrogance softened. Stories spread. Parents warned young captains, "Check your charts." Teachers told students, "Some silence is chosen." And on every map, across every species, human space remained marked the same way. Entry not advised. Time moved on. Wars continued in distant regions. Empires rose and fell as they always had. The galaxy never truly found peace. But something had changed. Human space remained untouched. Years turned into decades, decades into centuries. New species reached the stars and studied the old maps. They noticed the dark region marked clearly, simply, without detail. Entry not advised. Young explorers asked questions. What is there? Who lives there? Why does no one go? The answers were never complete. Only stories. Some said humans were gods who hid among stars. Others said they had built weapons that could erase reality itself. A few claimed humans were already gone, leaving machines behind. None of it mattered, because no one tested the silence again. At the Galactic Council, human space was rarely discussed, not because it was forgotten, but because everyone agreed. Some borders did not need debate. A new generation of leaders ruled the stars now. They had not seen the Varkesh fleet vanish. They had not heard the calm human voice themselves. But they had learned the lesson. Power did not always shout. Sometimes it waited. Far inside human space, life was ordinary. Humans lived on thousands of worlds. They built cities, farms, and stations. They explored their own systems, studied stars, and shared stories of old Earth. Children learned history in schools. They learned about the first wars, the broken treaties, the time humanity trusted too much. And they learned why the silence existed. "Why don't we talk to them?" a child once asked a teacher. The teacher smiled softly. "Because we already said everything we needed to." Human ships still traveled beyond their space, but quietly, watching, recording, learning. They did not interfere. They did not rule. They did not conquer. They simply existed. In the Our Galaxy, a small conflict broke out between two young species. It grew quickly. Fleets gathered, weapons charged. Then something strange happened. Navigation systems began to fail. Long-range weapons refused to lock. No voice spoke. No warning appeared. The conflict slowed. Both sides pulled back, uneasy. Later, analysts noticed something odd. The battle had drifted close to human space. Too close. The message was clear. Human silence still worked. Centuries after Admiral Corvin's final moments, his story was still told, not by name, not by honor, but as a warning. He crossed where he should not, elders said, and the galaxy learned. Some species tried to challenge that belief. They searched old records, they tested small probes, new sensors, advanced AI. Every attempt ended the same way. Nothing returned, no data, no proof, just absence. One council member finally said what many feared. "We are not being blocked," she said. "We are being ignored." That truth settled deeply, because being ignored by a lesser power was nothing. Being ignored by a greater one was terrifying. Inside human space, the Watchers continued their duty. Vast structures remained hidden. Systems monitored every border crossing, every signal spike, every movement. Not with anger, with patience. Humanity had learned something rare. Absolute power did not need constant use. It needed control. On a quiet world near Earth, an old human historian looked up at the stars. He knew the galaxy feared his species. He also knew the truth was simpler. Humans were tired. Tired of endless war, tired of proving strength, tired of fixing others' mistakes. So they chose distance, and distance had become legend. One final record was released centuries later. It was not sent loudly, it was not broadcast. It simply appeared in every major archive across the galaxy. A single sentence: "We are still here." Nothing else followed. No signature, no demand. The reaction was instant. Borders shifted again. Fleets changed course. Explorers turned away from human space without question. The silence remained intact, and the galaxy understood the final truth. Humans did not protect their space with walls. They protected it with certainty. No one was allowed in human space, and no one would ever enter again.